Hello there everyone, it is Jess and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about my favourite books of 2021. So I've been really excited to do this video because I have been looking forward to talking about the books that I loved last year, and there were quite a few books that I actually really enjoyed in 2021, and I definitely have more 5-star books than what I am going to talk about here. I've kept the list pretty short and I'm going to do my top 10 favourite books of 2021, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, it was really difficult to decide my top 10 because, like I said, I read so many fantastic books last year and there were definitely more than 10 5-stars, but these were the 10 books that really did something for me, that really stood out to me, books that I still can't quite stop thinking about, books that I really want to reread. And yeah, I'm going to talk about those books now. So I've done it in an order that starts with like my least favourite to my most favourite, but like I said, all of these books were phenomenal and they definitely deserve to be number one. We're going to start from my least favourite and work my way up to number one, and you might be surprised, or you might not be surprised about what my number one favourite book is. But anyway, let's start at number 10, and I'm going to start with The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. So this is one of the books that I can't believe I waited until 2021 to read. It's really well known. Everyone has heard of The Exorcist, either through the book or through the film. I haven't seen the film, so it was really nice to sit down and read the original source material first, just to get a feel for what it was all about. I kind of knew what it was about, but you know, it was very surprising to say the least. This is the 40th anniversary edition, so there was like some extra bits in here that wasn't in the original publication. Either way, I still really enjoyed this. This book had a really great atmosphere. It was so dark and tense and creepy and just everything that I love in horrors. It was also very gory at points and really disgusting, and I was really grossed out, which again, absolutely love that in a horror book. And there are definitely some scenes in this book that just really stick with me and I haven't been able to stop thinking about. But I also loved the incorporation of religion in this book and the kind of discussions that this book has around religion and the paranormal and the kind of paradoxes that culminate from those two things. And yeah, really enjoyed this one. Number 9 is The Minders by John Marrs. So I absolutely adore John Marrs. I've recently finished What Lies Between Us, and that was a fantastic book. John Marrs has not let me down so far. Every book that I've read by him so far has either been a 4 or a 5-star read, and this was just incredible. This has a really interesting concept of like these people having the UK's really sensitive security information implanted into their brains, and so these 5 people are selected to become minders, and they have to, you know, leave their lives behind and go on the run for 5 years, so that terrorists and other countries and political organisations cannot get hold of this sensitive security info. I really like that concept. I do think John Marrs always has some really interesting and unique story ideas, and this was no exception. It had some very interesting characters as well, and there are a few that I were really invested in. And this book just had a lot of great twists and turns. As always with John Marrs, he ends every chapter on a cliffhanger, so you have to keep reading to find out what happens. I thought I had it all figured out, and then another curveball was thrown in and I was very surprised. Really, really like this one. Another solid read by John Mars, and yeah, this guy, he can seemingly do no wrong so far. I know some of you are going to disagree with me on that, but you know, that's what I love about reading. It's all very subjective. So number 8, we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So this is the spin-off to the Grishaverse trilogy, Shadow and Bone and all of that, and it follows the crows. We've got Jesper, we've got Inej, we've got I cannot remember his name. I'm so sorry. Kaz. That was his name. Kaz. I can't believe I forgot that. This is one of my favourite books. But yeah, I love the characters in this book. They are just so funny, and I love the relationships that they have with each other and the banter that they have with each other. The dialogue in this book was just incredible. It was so much fun, and I laughed out loud so many times. It's just a really fun and exciting story. It's a heist story. I've heard from people that they didn't understand what was going on, and I don't understand why they didn't understand what was going on, because I could follow it really easily. And it was really exciting, you know, it was really well written, and it was fast paced and exciting, and yeah, I really, really liked this, and this book was definitely written a lot better than the previous 3 books in the Grishaverse trilogy. I definitely think this is one of Leigh Bardugo's strongest works so far. So number 7, we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and this is probably my favourite Riley Sager book so far. I absolutely devoured this book. This is a haunted house story. It's a thriller, and it is a twist on the haunted house trope, and it was a very fun and very exciting thriller. And I thought I had it all worked out. I thought I knew what was going on, and I was very pleasantly surprised when it turned out to be wrong. The twist at the end, I did not see coming, and it really knocked me back and just made this book so much better. It was good already, and then when I read that twist at the end, I was just like, oh my gosh, I did not see that coming. This book has just got so good. Yeah, really well written. I love the dual perspective in the story. We're following the perspective of Maggie, who lived in this house of horrors when she was a kid, and she's kind of like, she's inherited this house, and she's kind of talking about her experience with it, and also she's renovating it to get it ready for sale, and some weird stuff starts happening. And then we're also reading from her dad's point of view, who wrote this book about the House of Horrors and the things that he experienced, and it's both perspectives are very contradictory to each other, and it's kind of like that unreliable narrator thing going on, which I really liked. And yeah, really recommend this one. It's perfect for Halloween. I mean, it's perfect for any time of the year, but if you want a good thriller to read at Halloween, then this one will do it for you, I promise. Next, we have Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and it's very hard to sum this book up without spoiling it for you, but the main gist of it is a sci-fi thriller, and we are following this guy who wakes up in a completely different kind of scenario to his own. Like, he wakes up and there are people that know who he is, but he doesn't know who they are. And this book follows one of my favourite things in science fiction, and something that I am so interested in, but it also gives me an existential crisis, you know? It makes me ask a lot of questions that I don't really want to know the answers to, because I get scared. And I feel so insignificant and tiny. This was just a very fast-paced and action-packed book, and I was hooked from page 1. Not only is the concept really interesting, but the writing is just phenomenal. And this book just really kept up the pace, and there were so many twists and turns, and it kept me guessing. And yeah, really loved this one so much. I can't even tell you how much I loved it. And I do want to read some more of Blake Crouch, because again, I've heard incredible things about his other book called Recursion. It follows like a similar theme. So yeah, I need to get my hands on that. At number 5, we have a book that I can't stop thinking about, The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. This was one of those books that I initially rated 4 stars because I don't really know why I rated it 4 stars. But after some thinking, some consideration, and realising that I can't stop thinking about this book, I upped that rating to 5 stars. This book had a massive impact on me, and it's still one of those books that I just haven't been able to stop thinking about. I'm really compelled by it. I'm really eager to read it again. This is a thriller about a house at the end of Needless Street, and there is a man that lives there with his daughter and his cat, but not everything is as it seems. There is also this mystery of like this girl that had been abducted a few years prior, and that's all I can really tell you. But let me just say, this book is not what you're expecting. It doesn't go in a direction that you will ever expect it to go in, because it didn't for me at least. But yeah, I was so shocked by the ending and realising what this book was actually about, and it was really well done. And yeah, I just can't stop thinking about this book. The writing was fantastic, you know, it was so beautiful, lyrical at times, really, really effective, and it was also really mysterious, you know, it was mysterious as fuck. And yeah, I haven't stopped thinking about this book. I loved it so much. Please go and read it if you haven't, so you can understand what I'm talking about. At number 4, we have Hani Anishu's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jaigadar. So this is by the author who wrote The Henna Wars. I know The Henna Wars is considered a really good book. I am planning to read it very soon. This is such a cute little romance, and this is one of those books that just make me feel so warm and fuzzy on the inside. And I do read romance, but I never really rate romance that high, just because it's not really something that amazes me or, you know, makes me feel the way I did with this one. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I ended up loving this book. I read it so quickly as well. It is so easy to read, and I love the writing style. I love the story. I love this whole thing about a fake relationship and how that develops, and the characters' interactions in this book was just so much fun, and I just loved watching them discover themselves and discover their feelings. And this book also does a really good job of incorporating both characters' religions and cultures into the story, and discussing how that affects their relationship with their families, and how their sexuality also affects their relationship with their religions and their cultures. I thought it was a really important discussion to be had in a book, and I thought it was done really, really well. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite romance books, and I cannot recommend it enough. So at number 3, we have Split Tooth by Tanya Tagaq, and this is one of the most surprising favourites of 2021, because this is a book that I initially was on the fence about. It is written in a style that is not normally something that I love. I mean, I dogged so many pages in this book because there were just so many beautiful passages of writing that just really stuck with me, and I am planning a reread of this very soon. This is like part memoir, part fiction, and it's about a young native Canadian girl growing up in Nunavut in the 1970s, and this book talks about a lot of different topics. talks about things like feminism, violence against women, childhood, motherhood, what it's like to be a native Canadian, what it's like to live within the Inuit tribe, their culture and their beliefs, and the relationship between earth and sky and animals and humans and all of that. And I don't particularly enjoy magical realism that much. It's not a genre that I have found to have enjoyed a lot of, but this one was just phenomenal. It was weird, it was beautiful, it didn't make sense, it also made a lot of sense. This was just a very unique book. Yeah, like I read this book in less than 2 hours and I was very heavily impacted by this. I mean, I can't relate to a lot of this author's experiences, but there are some things that I did understand and did kind of relate to. It's just one of those books that's really, really powerful, and I totally understand the hype surrounding this. It was just phenomenally good. Alright, so at number 2 is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and you guys are probably thinking, what? Number 2? But I'm pretty sure, Jess, that you said this is one of your favourite books of 2021. Well, yes, it is one of my favourite books of 2021. For the longest time, I thought that it was my favourite book of 2021. But after curating this list, I've realised that I probably didn't love it as much as my number 1 pick, which we're going to get onto in a minute. But this is still a fabulous little book. I really connected with this book. It really spoke to me on so many levels, and I know some people really don't like this book and they thought it was preachy and whatever, and that is totally fine, and I can understand that. But I read it during a time when things were pretty difficult, and I felt like I wasn't being understood. And then this book came along and it said a lot of things that I had been trying to say. And it spoke to me in a way that a lot of people haven't really voiced to me, if you know what I mean. It just did something for me at the time. And I have reread this book since then, and I still loved it just as much the second time round. I love the concept of this library that holds infinite versions of your life, and you can pick a book and you can experience that life. And you can do that for as many times as you want. But I love the messages that this book sets upon you. I love the discussions that it has about mental health. And it kind of talks about how you can't change things that have happened, but you can learn from them and move forward with that. It talks about accepting your life for what it is and finding joy in the little things. And that's something that I am trying to focus on in my own life. But yeah, I really love this, and it is definitely my favourite Matt Haig book so far. It was always going to be at the top of this list in some respects, just because it really stuck with me. It's still stuck with me, you know what I mean? Yeah. We're not going to talk about that book anymore because I talk about that book a lot. But here is another book that I have talked about a lot on my channel. We'll probably continue to talk about for the foreseeable future because it is my number 1 book of 2021, and that is The Poppy Wall by R.F. Kuang. Some people might be surprised by this because I think you guys thought it was going to be The Midnight Library. I thought the same, but the more I think about it, the more I realise how much I have talked about this book within the last few months. Not necessarily just on this channel or on my social media, but in general to people I know who read fantasy. I've recommended this book to so many friends and family members. It is unreal. I learned a lot about China and China's history from this book because it is inspired by Chinese history, ancient China and modern China as well, and a lot of wars that have taken place in the country in the last several hundred years. I did so much Googling. while reading this book. I'm actually surprised I got it read, because I was Googling so much about a lot of things, and just the inspirations behind this book has taught me a lot of things that I didn't know about. So that's one thing that I love in books. I love it when books teach me stuff like that. It's always, you know, really great when books can do that for me. But this was, yeah, it was just another really cool and unique fantasy book, very different to the fantasy books that I have read previously. I love the world building in this book, and the history of this world. You know, it's really in depth. There's so much attention to detail, and I just love R.F. Kuang's writing so much. It was so vivid, and there were some really tense moments, there were some really dark moments, there were some sad moments. This book actually made me cry, which is why it is number one, because I don't cry a lot at books. I'm a very desensitized reader. We have discussed this before. And if a book can make me cry, can impact me so much that I shed a tear or two, or in this case, 1,200, then, you know, you have done something that no other author has done for me. And yeah, the moment that I cried was actually a very harrowing, really sad scene. And I think it's one of those scenes that would make anyone with a heart cry, because it was just so devastating, and it also kind of reflects some of the things that are happening in the world right now, and it does make you think about that a little bit more. But yeah, incredible, phenomenal, beautiful, stunning, absolutely amazing book. 1,000 out of 100. I can't recommend this enough. Please go and read it, please. You won't regret it. Okay, guys, so that is my stack of favourite books of 2021. Absolutely in love with all of these books. They're definitely books that I'm going to remember for a long time to come, that I'm going to recommend continuously to everyone, and that I'm probably not going to shut up about anytime soon, but that's okay. I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please feel free to let me know in the comments what your favourite books are of 2021 are. Give me your top 10 if you want, and I might read them in the future if I haven't read them already. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've talked about and what you thought of them, whether you agree with me or not. I feel like some of you are going to be like, oh, for God's sake, not that book. But you know, that is, like I said, the beauty of reading. People enjoy different things for different reasons, and I can't talk, so I'm gonna stop now. Please leave a cheeky thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and also hit the bell button so you can see more videos from me in the future. I will be posting my almost favourites of 2021, as well as my worst books and most disappointing and most surprising book videos very soon, so stay tuned for those. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video very soon. Bye, guys.